Hello, mini makers. Today we're going to be making a uh, statue or some type of stand for a magical orb that has the pedestal of like a talon or a claw foot. All right, so to start off, we're just going to make the orb by just adding a UV sphere. And to do that, we can just do Control A and add the sphere. Subdivide surfaces to make it smooth. And we can go ahead and start working on the talon now. Just gonna bring in a character for scale. Okay. The orb to be there-ish. Okay. So now to make the talon, we can do it a couple ways, but I'm gonna do it this way, where I take a square or cube and then merge all the vertices at the center, and now I have one vertice. And take that vertice, and then I'm going to add the skin modifier and the subdivide surfaces modifier, and then I'm going to go into edit mode and then vertexes mode and Control A to make it bigger. And I'm just gonna extrude it with E. That. Then I'll probably make it just a little bit thinner. That. And then I'll just add some subdivisions. And then we're gonna really make it look like a talon in sculpt when we go into sculpt mode. But for now, just gonna get the general shape out. Something like that. And that's the base of the talon. And then we're just gonna move this over. We're gonna have 4. So I just duplicate that, I guess, leg part of the talon. And then I'm just doing this to get the general shape of how it's gonna be. So what's gonna be in the front. And then we're just gonna rotate it 180. Then move it back. And then we're gonna duplicate that. And then we're gonna rotate it. We're gonna rotate it around the 3D cursor. About there. And then we're gonna do the same over here. This is just to get a rough idea of how it's gonna look. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna make one talon and we're gonna duplicate it. Or something like this. Yeah, where the talon top parts are smaller. Something like that. And then we are going to go ahead and add some colors so we can see how it's going to look like. And we're just going to also add just a random talon. So if you want to make claws, it's very easy. You can just add a Bezier curve. You can Control A, add curve. Sorry, Shift A, add curve. And then you can just go to the data tab over in this data section and then hit geometry and then just give it some depth. And then you click on one of the vertices at the end and then you Alt S, make it smaller in one side. And then that is your talon or your claw. Gonna rotate it like that. And then we can go in and mess with the profile more by just moving it around like that. And then we can give it more depth, increase the size. We're just gonna give it that color here. This is going to be, what's called with blue, I guess. Or we'll go with it. This will be yellow. Whatever this color is down here. So this is kind of what our statue is going to look like. It'll be an or a talon clutching a like that. That's how it's gonna kind of look. Probably move these down more. You can see more of the orb. Something like that. That's probably what I'm gonna go for. Yeah. Something close to that. So now that I have that generally going on, I'm gonna go and first work on this bottom part, this bottom leg portion. I'm just gonna divide it again, maybe add a little bit more of a contour here, a little bit thinner, contour up here as well, and then I will go ahead and convert all of it to a mesh, but applies all of the modifiers. Okay, and then I'm also going to apply rotation and scale, and then set origin to geometry. The other thing I'm going to do is now I'm going to go into, so now everything we do is going to be in sculpt mode. So I'm just going to flatten the bottom out so it's a little flat place for it to stand. So we can do that by using the line project tool. Now we have a little flat bottom there, but I'll probably do that at the end. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my blob tool, set it to 0, and add some dynamic topology. There's other ways of doing this. This is just the kind of workflow that I've gotten used to. There's probably, there are better, more efficient ways to do this, but this is how I get the stuff done, and it works for me. Okay, so now we can go on and start smoothing this out some. Make sure dynamic topology is off. Go at a lower strength of smoothness. Okay, now we have something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the back. So I'm going to take off X and Y symmetry. I'm going to just kind of make it so it looks like it's a lot more front facing like that. And then I'm just going to give it a little bit more of a curve here. Gonna smooth that out some. Something like that. Maybe smooth it out like this. Give it a little bit more of a taper there in the middle as well. We can use that doing the snake hook tool. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and we can add these little ridges, which I'm going to try to do one way, and if it doesn't work, I'll just do it another way. So when we can try to do it is using the mask tool to mask off where we think those ridges are going to go, like there. We're going to make it a little bit smaller, and like there. And then here, I guess. And since this is a miniature, I mean, it's going to be a fairly... Well, it's going to be a miniature, so we don't want to go... We don't want to make our details too small, because then they'll be very hard to paint. And I paint most of the things that I make, and I don't enjoy painting things that are super chocked with detail, because then it feels like I can't finish them. It also takes a long time. So I prefer slightly simpler miniatures to paint, because I enjoy the sculpting the most and painting second. So I like to make painting's just difficult for me, so I try to make easier things to paint. Okay, so we have something like this. And now what we will do is we will Control I, which inverts everything. No, we don't have to do that. Okay, so then we'll just go and use our sculpt draw tool to kind of just push out where we think those are going. I think we can go ahead and lower the strength a little bit. Maybe 2.5. Something like that. And then we can get rid of the mask and try to smooth it out. Yeah, that looks. So it kind of achieves our look we're going for. Just at least smooth out the sides there. I think it really does. So what we'll just do is we'll just use some of the pinch tool to clean up some of these. Like that. So it's not so regular. Okay, yeah, I think that looks good. So we'll probably do the same thing. Follow that same kind of system for the talons, the actual toes. And I think on the back, we're just going to use the clay slips tool to add just some general bumps. I'm going to smooth that out some. So now it kind of looks a little bit more detail back there. That's a hack. That little, just randomly apply the clay slips tool, and then you just kind of and then you can just kind of smooth it. It really does look like it's just like flesh or random detail. And I think that looks good. I'm actually surprised at how good that looks. That easy. Okay. So at the end, we're probably gonna go and add a more of a alpha texture in the back. But that's probably a little bit later now than on. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just make one Talon. So we're gonna do the same thing, invert mesh, and then hit X and Y. And then we're just gonna hide these other ones. And we'll probably end up replacing them as well. We will. So now we just do dynamic topology, do the same thing, add the go ahead and add some more of the vertices. Smooth it out. Really kind of push this one in a little bit more. Really kind of pronounce that area here. Pronounce that area there. Move this claw in. Just shape it a little bit more. Something like that. For now. Maybe add a little bit more volume near the top because that's where the digit is. Like that. And then we're just gonna use our snake hook tool, kind of smooth it, kind of move it in. Okay. I think we're good with that kind of look. I guess the ridges on the inside are kind of gonna be obscured by the orb. So we don't have to really worry about those. So now we're gonna go ahead and add. We add some. No, we'll just leave that. So now we're gonna do the same thing where we add our use our mask tool. We'll probably make these smaller and more. Like this. Then we go across to the bottom. And we just do the same thing that we did with the leg portion with the body portion. Or with the foot portion. So I'm probably gonna go ahead and add a little bit more vertices here. Like that. And then we just use the ball tool again to pull them up. And then we'll go ahead and smooth them again. So Alt M to get rid of the mask. And just use the smooth tool. And then we could go in and use the... I'm going to use the crease tool to define these on the toes a little bit better. I'm just going to crease tool and placing the indentation I made with the mesh tool. I mean with the mask tool. Like that. Okay, so that's looking a lot like a foot here. I'm just gonna go and just use the crease tool a little bit more in these areas, these pockets. Okay, that looks like the foot of this foot. So we can go in. I'm gonna go in and use the scrape tool just to see if that gives us more of what a look that we want. Yeah, I'll probably go and use the scrape tool. That kind of flattens the area you use it in. I mean, I try to use the flatten tool. I use the flatten tool sometimes, but the scrape tool kind of works better for you want to slightly flatten a section. What I found works slightly better is using the scrape tool instead of flatten tool. Flatten tool kind of goes out of control sometimes. Just more difficult to control. Something like that. Give it kind of a flat. It kind of look like plates in this picture. So I'm just gonna do the same thing here. Make plates. This. Okay, and I'll probably just do the same thing down here. And I'm kind of switching between using a mouse and using a stylus. You can do it all with a mouse. I just use a stylus so it doesn't hurt my hand at the end of the day. And then we'll just do the line project tool now. So with line project tool, everything underneath gets chopped off, and you can hit control to kind of get a lot more like get a straight line, something like that. And then it kind of looks like these are kind of inset slightly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the mask tool again. Set this mask along the edge of the finger there. Then we'll just kind of do this, get a little of some of that, get a little of some of the mask. Literally get a clean mask here along the finger of this. I'm just gonna smooth that. Then we're going to invert the mask. And then we're going to go ahead and use the mesh filter tool with the inflate filter type. We're just going to kind of push it out a little bit. Then we're going to just smooth this portion slightly. It looks a little bit more natural. And now I think it's a bit too thick, so what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of make it a little thinner, that, and then we're probably just going to kind of move that inflated thing that we did just slightly in, so it doesn't seem so extreme. Okay, like that. Perfect. So now if we duplicate this, then rotate it across the 3D cursor. Let's say 45. Rotate Z 45 degrees. Maybe 60 degrees. And then we can mirror this across the orb. And then we can go ahead and mirror this one across the orb in the Y dimension. That. Okay. So now we can move on to making the talon, or the claw of the talon. Let's just go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Now we're gonna really mess with the profile of this talon. So we're gonna kind of move this up a little bit. Gonna really make it bigger like that. Then we're going to probably what we're gonna do here, shade flat. What we're gonna do on this one is we're going to apply scale, and then we're gonna kind of just use the sculpt vol tool in the negative dimension, and then we're just gonna kind of make a little space for this talon, this claw to go. So it kind of looks like claw somewhere to be. Like that. And then we'll use the claw tool in the positive dimension to kind of inflate the space around it. So now it kind of looks like the claw is actually part of the toe instead of just kind of inserted in a very unnatural way. So there you go. Okay. So now it looks like the claw is part of it. Then we're going to move this vertice back more like that. This is going to be 3D printed. I want all the pieces to intersect so I can Boolean union them together at a later point. And for this, I think I'm going to... No, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I think what I will do is actually... I'm probably going to do what I did to the bottom part, where I just kind of use the clay slips tool in a kind of way like this. And then smooth it off. Kind of add some very rough texture to this, and then just use the crease tool a little bit to kind of define some of these little ridges and bumps and valleys to make it look like it's actual flesh and not a 3D construction like we just made. Okay. That should look better there. Okay, I think it does. Maybe with a darker, this slightly darker. There we go. That's nicer. Just gonna with a different. There we go. So now for the talon, we kind of have it pretty much where we want it. So what we're gonna do here is we're going to just go ahead and convert it to a mesh, fill in the top and the bottom faces. So just use Alt click to select the edge loop and then Shift Alt click to select the other edge loop. F to fill, and then the top part here, just inset and then move it over. And now that's a claw with a point. And just do subdivide surfaces. Just subdivide surfaces, hit apply, and then we can go in and go into sculpt mode, add some vertices, make sure X and Y are on after you apply scale and rotation. Perfect. Then we can go ahead and choose too little. 5 is too little. Call it 10. 10 seems fine. Now they have 10. So it looks like that. I may go with 15. And then we're just going to smooth it slightly. Make sure dynamic topology is turned off. Gonna smooth it slightly here, and then we're just gonna add some kind of, I guess, ridges, since it's more of a dragon claw than it is like a chicken foot. So we're just gonna use our draw tool in the next dimension. Gonna turn on stabilized strokes, and then we're just gonna add these probably a little bit stronger. That. Like that. Kind of keep messing around with it until you find a style that you like. Either a bunch of little ones. I try not to make it always so clean. That. Then you can have claws going into other claws like that. Same thing up here. This. Maybe something like that. One up the middle completely. Okay, and then I'm just gonna use my inflate tool slightly. We'll see how that maybe a smaller length. Like that. And then we're just gonna get our smooth tool at a very low length. Something like that. That looks like a claw. And then I'm gonna just go ahead and now union these two, Boolean union these two. and then these will just be my claws. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but an easy way, I have the the box cutter hard ops installed. So I just use that. And now we can just copy this, rotate this along the 3D cursor in the 60, and then Shift D, and then rotate it in the -60. So just duplicate it, -60 in the Z dimension. And then this is also like, you could do a lot of stuff with this. Like you could use this as like the end of a staff. Do a lot of stuff with it. So for this bottom one, I'm going to go ahead and hide this, and I'm gonna go all the way down and do what I did over there as well. So go to the mask, gonna mask it again, add the last couple of plates to this. Go ahead and low strength, blow tool. Stabilize slugs. Negative dimension, make sure it's a positive dimension. Okay. Fill the mask, smooth it. Smooth it, add some more, and then go with scrape, and then scrape it to make it flatter. That. Take these old fingers. Okay. And now we can go ahead and combine them. We'll just this. We can go ahead and join these two, and then apply this, and then we can Boolean union these two together. Hide this, and I'm going to go inside of the model to make sure that everything is okay, overlap perfectly, perfect. And now we're just going to Boolean union this to the top portion. There to there. Now we're just going to smooth everything out, smooth out the connection points. So we're gonna go add those vertices to the connection point area. Maybe not 15, but 7.5 worked. So we're gonna go in here, move that out. Then we're gonna basically go ahead and use the smooth tool. Try this orb. I'm gonna use the smooth tool, and then we're gonna use the clay slips tool to give the connection points a little bit more substance. Kind of really make sure the transition between the loss of the foot is really smooth and don't look kind of out of place at all. Although we may not have to. We may not have to. See how that looks. It's the orb. I mean, we're probably gonna add one last line here. We're gonna do one from here to there. Like that. And then we're gonna use the draw tool. Just masking off whatever I don't want to draw on. Okay. And then I'm just use the draw tool again. Here. I'll M this, smooth this out slightly. The smooth tool. There. That. Now it looks a little bit less disjointed. Move these two a little bit. Okay. So that looks good. I think it looks good. What we can do now is we can go in and maybe add see if I have one, an alpha brush in sculpt mode, an alpha brush that has kind of like a scaly or skinny texture. Let me see if I can find it. Nope. Under sculpting brushes, stamps maybe. That's good. Stamp. Okay, we're gonna try this elephant skin stamp one, and we'll see if it works. So front faces only. I'm gonna put vector displace on, and then I'm gonna put in anchor. Then we're just gonna kind of add some of this texture here. That. Probably give it a little bit more length, like 3.5. That's too much. Like that. And we're just gonna do that on here as well. That. So every area that isn't the scaly glitch piece there. Gonna add some of this texture, and this piece is gonna be a miniature, but it's gonna be like a fairly large miniature. So those pieces, those kind of textures probably will show up with a resin print, but they may be obscured if you're doing an FDM or something. Okay. I think I like how that looks. Got a little bit of the texture. Got the claw going on. So you gotta put that at the end of a staff. You could put that on a pedestal. So like you have this. You could throw a pedestal underneath it. You know, put a pedestal underneath it. Like that. You could put it at the top of a column. You have a cylinder. You know, like that. And then you just, I don't know. My services. You have one of your pillars. You know, you could do a lot with this. Just kind of as some type of set piece item. You can put it at the top of a pillar. That. You know, you can do a lot with something like this. But anyway, that's how you do it. If you ever wanted to make an orb talon, claw orb talon, it's not very hard. You even get something that look pretty nice at the end of a staff. What would I put at the end of a staff? No. No, clipping. Yeah, anyway. That's how you do it. Looks pretty good. Very, very simple to do. You can knock it out in 45 minutes. And then you have something to put at the spooky thing to put at all of your dungeons from going forward. But anyway, I hope you liked the tutorial. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make anything in particular. But yeah, this is what we're working with.